Happy Sunday to you. It's Sarah from Funky Fossil here, and I hope you're feeling creative today as it's our first Sunday in May, and we're back with our weekly dose of kind of crafty projects and inspiration. I'm using Funky Fossil products, but the main purpose of these little sessions is to get you diving into your stash and doing something creative with your Sunday. This week I thought we'd have a little bit of a play with some MDF to make some sweet pieces of home decor. So we're going off the journal page, off the card this week, and this is super simple, but it's really lots of fun to do. And of course I will put a Sunday maker bundle together. It will feature our MDF Scandi trio of birds because they're what we're going to be kind of decorating today. You can see the trio here. And they're really lovely, really stylised, but because they've got that kind of contrast detail cut out of the top level, you can get some beautiful effects. Of course you can use them as two separate pieces. You could just have a solid piece and a decorative piece and have them spread out on a banner or bunting, etc. So there are lots of options with this trio of birds, because of course you get 6 pieces of MDF in total. But in addition to decorating our Scandi birds, I thought we'd also have a little bit of a play with our small MDF houses, which are really easy to put together, and I'm going to show you obviously in this video exactly how that happens. And I'm going to put a set of 2 of these little houses into our Sunday maker bundle. So you've got 3 birds, you've got 2 houses, lots of creative bases to kind of start decorating and playing with. And I think I will, I'll also add this stencil in as well, the leafy mandala, which has kind of a folk Scandi style to it, because I'm planning to use that in part of the decoration that we do today. So that'll be the Sunday maker bundle. And I'm going to stick with this gorgeous fresh blue and white colour combo. The inspiration for this Sunday really came from a little kind of house, again from the same MDF that I made years ago, and this is featuring kind of a now discontinued stamp set, Scandi Garden, but I just had done it in blue and white, and it's been sitting on my shelf for a couple of years, and I really love kind of looking at it. It's got a lovely kind of feel to it. It does have kind of hanging holes in the top, so you are able to make them kind of as hanging decorations. You could even do a whole kind of advent string with these houses if you wanted to. But if you don't want the hanging holes, you could cover it with paper, etc. So this is my inspiration. The blue and the white and the Scandi vibe was what really got me thinking about using our new products that we released just this week with our MDF. And the new products I'm talking about, in case you've missed this week's release, is our kind of folk tales mini collection. So we've got 2 A5 stamp sets, which is Folk Garden and Folk Alpha. And what I'm planning to do is stamp these beautiful elements onto our MDF house to create a little kind of folk house. And I'm planning, if it fits, I haven't even tested this out, but this is what's in my head. I'm also going to stamp home on it as well. I do some stenciling on the roof, and we'll also do some stenciling on the back of the bird that I haven't as yet decorated or completed. This one here, because these 2 already have some decoration on. I've covered this one with paper on the back, painted it. This one I've just used paints, done a little bit of pen work to decorate the front, and stamped the word joy on the back using our Folk Alpha. So these 2 are completed, so I want to create the 3rd one in the series as part of today's video. So we're going to have a busy old Sunday session, I think. I'm just trying to think what to do first. Let's start simple and do the bird first, and then we'll do the house separately. As you can see, I have already painted these. I thought I'd spare you the painting process. Super easy to do. I use, typically on my MDF, I use the Deco Art Americanas. On these I've used the titanium white and the navy blue. I find these they're a reasonable price. They're not an expensive art paint. And also I find they give a good coverage on MDF as well. So although the white birds took a few, or the white elements took a few coats, because unless you use gesso, the first coat often does sink into the MDF a little bit. It's quite a thirsty base, so it will kind of absorb that paint initially, and you'll need to go over it again to get a solid coverage. But sometimes with the darker deco art paints, the dark blues and the blacks, sometimes I do find one layer can be sufficient. So I do find them really effective on MDF. But use what you have, and remember with MDF you can use your inks, you can colour it. I mean, there's lots you can do with MDF. You don't need to have acrylic paints to make it work, and in fact it looks absolutely beautiful as it is, as a kind of plain surface. You can imagine stamping and white heat embossing on this and it will give you the look of craft cardstock. So you don't always need to think about having all the kit to paint with acrylic paints. So I've painted this one in white, I've painted the base in blue so you get the contrast coming through. And what I want to do is decorate the back of our bird. And I was going to use the leafy mandala to do that really simply. Again, this is a technique we use in our card making all the time. I'm just going to white heat emboss this stencil pattern onto the back of the MDF bird. Now, if you don't want to do heat embossing, the alternative could be that you might use white acrylic paint and sponge it through. That's what I did on this MDF piece. This is white paint, it's not embossing powder. So again, there are a host of different options to give you the kind of look you might want to achieve, depending on what you've already got in your stash. But I thought I'd go with the white heat embossing this time because I thought it'd be interesting to see whether it gives it a nice kind of white glossy finish on the dark blue that I've painted it already. So I've got my sticky embossing ink, and let me see if I can find a brush here that either I have used for heat embossing or is at least fairly clean. I don't think I have used this one with embossing ink, but it's not going to contaminate my ink pad, so I'm going to go with this. I'm just going to hold this down because obviously this is kind of going onto a slightly raised surface with the MDF, and the way I positioned it is, again, totally personal preference, because I thought if I use the hanging hole almost as a kind of the centre point of the mandala design, it will look quite nicely arranged over the bird. So we shall see how we get on. Now if this doesn't work, then I will go back to my usual techniques of white acrylic paint sponge through, but you don't know unless you try it, do you? Of course, the other thing I should have done, she says, thinking aloud, is I should have used my repositionable stencil spray, and that would of course held it in place on the MDF while I was stenciling through. So if this moves, then I might reach for the repositionable spray to make life easier for myself. Why do we make life difficult? I do not know. I always have my best ideas after the fact. So I'm just being generous with my ink. What I have done when I painted the MDF is I've given it a very light sand with a fine grain sanding block, purely because I find that takes off any kind of roughness from the surface and makes certainly any stamping or stenciling that you want to do that much easier. It's effectively like now working on a normal piece of coloured cardstock. I think I've covered everything. I'm just being super cautious. Let's see. Yeah, that looks, I can see here. I don't know if you can see. I'm going with the natural daylight again today. Can you see that? There you can You can just see it when I tilt it, can't you? That the design is there. Yeah, I've got natural daylight in the studio today. It's another lovely sunny day. So I hate to block it out when we've got the sunshine working in our favour. So I've got some, that's the clear gloss. It'll give me a good look, but it's not the look I'm going for. I've got the opaque bright white from Wow as my coverage here. So let's see what occurs. Now, of course, I say of course, but I painted this this bird a few days ago, so it's completely dry. So that's the other thing to consider if you are going to use your embossing powders over a painted surface, is that you've allowed plenty of drying time, because sometimes even residual any residual moisture will obviously capture the embossing powder, which likes to stick. I think that's come out nice and clearly, hasn't it? I like that. So let me put this to one side. Let's just decant the embossing powder. I know our Scandi birds have been super popular this week, so hopefully for those of you that have already invested in a trio, this might give you an idea to get you started with decorating and enjoying yours. Just blowing away any bits of stray powder. I think that's looking pretty crisp, isn't it? So let's apply the heat. I won't do much talking while I'm heating it, but the two things I would just kind of point out in relation to heat embossing onto MDF is it's a thicker substrate, so it takes that little bit longer to heat up sometimes. So just have that patience, don't lose hope in terms of waiting for the embossing powder to start turning. And typically I find it works better if it's lifted rather than onto the surface itself. So given this is quite a tricky little shape, just be careful with your fingers when you're chasing that embossing powder around the bird. Right, I'm going to start the heat gun now. It didn't take that long at all, actually, did it? In reality, how cute does that look? I think I'm really pleased with that. So again, just think about painting your MDF shapes in a bold colour, and then either using your range of embossing powders, your golds, your whites, etc., and you can get really fabulous results purely just with your stamps and stencils. So things you already have in your stash. Now this still feels really warm, but I'm hoping if I turn it over it won't. Of course, the thing with embossing powder, it just gets everywhere, doesn't it? It's like sand off the beach. So let me just get hasn't really melted. Hasn't melted. It's almost like kind of grit that I seem to manage to accumulate everywhere. So that's nice and cool. We can just adhere the top layer down, and then we'll have a lovely decoration front and back. Now there's lots you could do with the front part of the bird as well, as you saw with this earlier one where I used the pens to do a bit of doodling. You could really enjoy being creative with the front of the bird as well. I'm going to go for a fairly kind of clean and simple look with these because I think that works nicely with the Scandi style. but I'm sure it would also look really cool with some vibrant colours. In fact, I might do another set with vibrant colours. I've got some glue showing through there, but it won't really, it will dry clear, so it doesn't matter at all. And all I'll need to do when all this is set and dried is put some string through the top, through the hanging hole, and I'll have another decoration. So I'll have my trio of birds, and I think they'll look lovely hanging. They look lovely as individual gifts. They do look great in frames as well. The set in the Sunday Makers bundle that I'll put together will be with the hanging holes. But if you go onto the shop, you will find I also sell this trio without the hanging holes if you want to use them in framed pieces or just purely as decoration rather than as something that you're going to hang. So there you go. I think that looks really cool, doesn't it? Super simple, but I just wanted to share a quick idea for using your Scandi birds. Now let's get on to our Scandi house. And now this comes together really easily. So there are 2, 4, 6, there are 7 pieces in the house that you receive. Excuse me, my voice. There's a square base, and you can see all of the pieces have tabs. I've only painted one side because of course when we close the house up you won't see the inside at all. But I'm just going to kind of manually hold things together for now, just to show you how it comes together, but it really is very intuitive. The tabs click together. Let's get the other wall in. Now I'm not going to adhere it at this point because I'm going to do my stamping and stenciling before I construct the house, but just to show you how simple it is and how easily it goes together. It is a bit harder when you're just trying to hold it. There you go. So that's slotted together. Now, as you can see, because when I've been painting it, I haven't wanted to add too much paint where the tabs will go, so that the joints don't swell and it doesn't become difficult to construct. So what I will do is I'll be decorating these panels. Then when I construct the house, I will go back in with white paint and just touch up these joins and tabs. So I typically leave them unpainted until the final stage. And then a little roof just fits on the tabs at the top there. Just hoping that it doesn't collapse without the glue. There we go. Is that right? There we go. Just feel like there's a one tab there. There you go. And that's how it will sit together. So you've got your blue roof, and I mean it does need glue to hold it together, but as you can see it does have some degree of integrity just slotted together, so it's quite a nice neat fit, but you will need to use some glue to get that final fix. Right, so that's how it comes together. The MDF house doesn't come with instructions, but hopefully you can just see from this it is very straightforward in terms of how those pieces slot together. So I've got my this is my base, I'm leaving that to one side, I'm not going to decorate that. We've got our 2 sides and our 2 fronts, and then the roof, which I think will stencil with that leafy mandala very much in the way that we did with the Scandi bird, because I think that will have the look of a nice kind of roof design. So I'll do that at the end. I may not even do it on camera, given you've seen me how I've done it with the bird. We'll see how we're going for time. So my thinking is these are the 2 sides that we will use the fabulous bird panel. There are 2 bird panels in this folk garden stamp set, and I thought we'd use this one painted in the stamped in dark blue on each of the sides, and then we'll decorate the front and back with different designs. Now you can absolutely just stamp straight onto MDF. It's a nice flat surface, and is not a tricky area to stamp onto at all. But what I thought I'd do is try my stamping platform with it, in order to just, if I need to, with these slightly bigger stamps, if I need to go back in, hopefully the stamp platform will give me the option of being able to do that. Now what I've done in my stamping platform here is I've removed the foam that you normally have when you're stamping onto card or paper, and that should give me a little bit more depth so that the stamp can, because it's just short of the lip of the stamping platform. So fingers crossed. I mean, I know not all stamping platforms are the same, but if you have one that has a foam insert that can be removed, often if you're using it with your rubber stamps rather than your photopolymer ones, you can remove the foam and gives you extra depth to be able to stamp onto. So you can also do that with your MDF as well. So I'm just going to try and position my little bird. Now obviously, because it is just a piece of MDF, it I haven't thought about this, it isn't going to have the, what's the right word, have the magnets holding the MDF in place. So this is going to lift. Let me think about that. Maybe if I use a bit of, have I got any washi here? Maybe if I just use a bit of tape just to hold the MDF in situ on the platform, otherwise I can see it lifting. That should at least give it a little bit of resistance so it doesn't lift with the stamp on the lid. Yes, that's done the trick. Right, so I'm going for the blue and white theme, so I'm going to use some VersaFine Clair in Medieval Blue, which is a nice dark blue colour. What was I going to say then? Now I'm going to clear heat emboss this when I put it onto the MDF, because the VersaFine can take a long while to dry on acrylic, if it does at all. So you definitely best, unless you're using archival ink will stamp and dry fine on your acrylic paint, but if you're using a VersaFine, then it's probably best to seal it with a clear embossing powder. I really hope this works. It's just an idea I had from looking at the one that I'd done years ago, but I haven't actually tried it out. Ooh, I can feel my house coming up. Oh no, it stayed there. That's cool. Oh, I like that. Can you see it? That'll come really nicely. I think when we were doing the live, do I need another layer? Do you know, I don't think I will do another layer actually. When I was doing the live on Wednesday this week, somebody mentioned stamp board and as being a great surface to use these stamps on, because they kind of have that tile look to them. I must look some out and see if I can get my hands on any, because that would be another great surface to get different types of effects. There's no massive rush to do your heat embossing on your MDF, because the ink does tend to stay wet a little bit longer, so you don't need to chase massively. So I'm giving this a very healthy dose of clear embossing powder. Now I have found in the past, we'll see as we try it now, but I have found in the past that the for some reason on the MDF, the clear embossing powder just seems to slightly mute the colour rather than making it stronger. It often makes it more vibrant on paper. I may be wrong, and we'll see when we heat set this, but sometimes it is worth bearing that in mind in terms of how the embossing powder will work on the acrylic paint. So I'm going to be quiet while we heat set this. Giving it a nice glossy finish. It reminds me of kind of china, you know, the kind of blue designs on white china. So yeah, it hasn't actually muted that colour too much, so I'm pleased with how that's turned out. Now, I'm going to turn the camera off just while I do a little bit more. I'm going to stamp this same design on the other side of the house, and I'm also going to stamp the fabulous, excuse me, the fabulous cat image on the front of the house, wherever I've put that now. I can't see the front shapes. So the shapes that are like this, I'm going to put our cat sitting happily in the centre of that. So I will do that stamping, and then we shall reconvene to stamp our letters onto the front of the house and see how it's all starting to come together. So I shall be back in a very short minute. So I've heat embossed the rest of the panels of the house. We've got our cat, we've got our two birds, and I've also, while I was off camera, I did the roof pieces as well, like we did with the Scandi bird. So the last thing to do before we're ready to construct the little house is to stamp on the either the front or back panel, whichever way around you put the house, the word home. And I've also added the little bee embellishment from the Folk Garden stamp set as well. So these are a lovely size, this Folk Alpha stamp set, and it's got a lovely quirky kind of hand doodled style to it, so I think it will give a really really cool finish. I've done this exactly the same as I did when I was showing you earlier. I have already taped my MDF panel down to the base so that it didn't lift with the stamps, and we'll do exactly what we did before, which is give them a good coat of the VersaFine and clear heat emboss. I was thinking when I was off camera that this would be really cool if I did one of the panels in the dark blue and white heat embossed the elements, so you'd have the contrast of the white and blue on the walls as well, but I'll have to save that for another time. Now it has been lifting with the stamps. I don't know if it will with this one because it's not quite as, no it isn't, it's not quite as solid a stamp, so that enables me to double check that I've got the coverage I want, and I'm pleased with that. That's so sweet, isn't it? I'm glad I added that little bee at the top, so you can see it was secured at the back with our double-sided tape. And I'll just put a bit of clear heat embossing powder to seal the letters. Make sure I don't get the white. I'm using the super fine, but actually for this kind of project you could use the clear gloss regular. The fine obviously works brilliantly when you've got detailed line art to capture. It's not as critical for a project like this, but it still does the job perfectly well. And I haven't been using an anti-static bag, mainly because I'm clear heat embossing onto a kind of white surface, so I figured any stray little specks that might melt in the process aren't going to be really very visible. But again, depending on how neat you want your finished project to look, you could always use your anti-static bag before you apply your ink. there we go, really quick. And that's all set, and you've got that nice glossy finish. So it does look like it's kind of glazed, which I think will work lovely on the finished piece. So as I showed you previously, really easy to put this together. And I'll start with the front and the side, adding a little bit of glue, but then I will probably just, excuse me, I will speed this up. I can't get my words today. I will speed this up a little bit as well, because you, I'm sure, don't want to watch somebody applying glue to an MDF piece. Hopefully it's fairly intuitive in terms of how the house goes together. So I don't add a lot of glue. I don't find it needs it. I'm just using my regular kind of tonic glue, but because again there's not a lot of weight in this. Oh, what a numpty! What a numpty! I've done my panels the wrong way around, look. Oh, I bet you've been shouting that at the TV, at the screen. Look, I've done them the wrong way around. Oh, that's really annoying. So I'm going to, can you see? Oh, what a numpty. So I'm going to leave this to set, but I'm going to go and redo this process. The easiest way to do it really will just be to paint and do the whole process on the other side. So again, if you do something like this, don't fret, because you've got two sides of the MDF, so you can always turn it around and go with the, whoops, it's all going wrong now, and go with the other side. So there's a little tip on how not to do it. Of course, that is the right way up, because the tab is going to sit in the bottom of the house. So I better head off and repaint my MDF panels, and I'll come back as we construct the house. See you in a sec. So after all of that tomfoolery with my upside down side panels, I've gone back, you can see them on the inside there. I've just painted the other side of each panel and done exactly the same process as I showed you earlier, and now I think our little house is coming together really, really nicely. So I've already applied little bits of glue to the tabs, and our main structure is drying. We'll just add the roof elements. You can see I've already done the stenciling in exactly the same way as we did with our MDF bird earlier in the video. And then I'll just talk you through how I will finish this off, and I'll do that off camera, and you'll be able to see a picture of the finished project once it's done, because the kind of final touches are not very exciting to watch. So just applying, and you really only need very small pieces, small amounts of glue. I think I said this previously, didn't I? You know, this isn't a structure that's needing to kind of hold any particular weight, and when I do my finishing off, in terms of adding a little bit more white paint around the joints to cover those exposed areas excuse me, of MDF, then I always feel that acts as a further kind of bit of adhesive, really, in terms of just kind of keep holding those joints together even more securely. And that is the house built. Really, really quick and simple. Obviously I'll kind of allow that glue just to set and connect, but this is how it's coming together. I think it looks super, super sweet, don't you? So what I will do off camera, just to finish off, is, as you can see where there are edges or little tabs which are exposed, I'm going to touch those up with a little bit of white paint, and I say that will add a little bit more security to the joints on the house. And then I'll probably go in with some archival ink, probably in the cobalt because of the blue and white colour scheme, just with this cosmetic sponge, just to soften those edges and add a little bit of a distressed look to the house. Now there are lots of different ways you could even go even further with it. You could use a crackle glaze. I did that on this original one, you can see there. So I've used a fine crackle glaze and then just use the kind of contrast to get that white, the white cracks enhanced or kind of made more clear. So you can do that. You can add a little bit of varnish. Totally up to you if you want to further embellish this. Obviously it's acrylic paint, so it's very hard wearing, so you can absolutely leave it just as it is in terms of a shelf decoration. You could, if you wanted to, maybe put something with a bit of weight inside, and you could use it as a little paperweight on in your kind of craft room, or as I say, you could use the hanging holes in the roof here and make it a hanging decoration as well. So lots of options. This works brilliantly if you're going to use kind of pattern papers, do a bit of collage on it. You can do really grungy and distressed looking ones. You could do steampunk style ones. But because we've got the folk tales collection this week, I think it looks really lovely and fresh as kind of a little folk art Scandi house. So between that and our easy Scandi bird decorations, I hope you've had some inspiration of ways you could create little pieces of home decor using your standard craft supplies, and use your stamps and stencils to make lovely little keepsakes, either as gifts or items to enjoy around the home. Thank you so much for joining me this Sunday. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And I'll be back next Sunday with some more crafty inspiration. In the meantime, I hope you have a fabulous week. Bye for now.